Hello, and welcome to the Deus Ex Ultimate Run speedrun commentary. This is the segmented version of the run. Here are the rules. No using consumable items, no weapons, no augmentations, not even the flashlight. We will untrain all of our skills before we start the game, and we won't use skill upgrade points during the game. No using money, no using repair bots, no healing, no glitch or exploit abuse. We can't use passcodes or logins without finding them in-game first, and of course, we'll be playing on realistic difficulty. I'll complete the game using only environmental objects like crates, the nanokey ring, and a variety of techniques. So let's play the intro and start the run. Enjoy.
Your appointment to FEMA should be finalized within the week. I've already discussed the matter with the Senator.
I take it he was agreeable?
He didn't really have a choice.
Has he been infected?
Oh yes, most certainly. When I mentioned that we could put him on the priority list for the ambrosia vaccine, he was so willing it was almost pathetic.
This plague, the rioting is intensifying to the point where we may not be able to contain it.
Why contain it? Let it spill over into the schools and churches. Let the bodies pile up in the streets. In the end, they'll beg us to save them.
I've received reports of armed attacks on shipments. There's not enough vaccine to go around, and the underclasses are starting to get desperate.
Of course they're desperate. They can smell their death, and the sound they'll make rattling their cage will serve as a warning to the rest.
I hope you're not underestimating the problem. The others may not go as quietly as you think. Intelligence indicates they're behind the problems in Paris.
A bunch of pretentious old men playing at running the world. But the world left them behind long ago. We are the future.
We have other problems.
UNATCO?
Formed by executive order after the terrorist strike on the statue. I have someone in place, though. I'm more concerned about Savage. He's relocated to Vandenberg.
Our biochem corpus is far in advance of theirs, as is our electronic sentience, and their ethical inflexibility has allowed us to make progress in areas they refuse to consider.
The augmentation project?
Among other things, but I must admit that I have been somewhat disappointed in the performance of the primary unit.
The secondary unit should be online soon. It's currently undergoing preparation and will be operational within 6 months. My people will continue to report on its progress. Necessary.
We've had to endure much, you and I, but soon there will be order again. Not better than kings. Gods.
Okay, and here we are in the training room. It's where I reset to whenever I mess up on the first map. New game, realistic difficulty. Everything is untrained, everything's set to 0, even though it's impossible to completely untrain the pistol skill. And right out the gate, we kind of have a difficult trick here called dock jump. It's only difficult in that getting the jump height and the angle correct to land on the rail is a little tricky. But cutting this corner back here on the dock saves us about 2 seconds and gets us that much farther ahead of Paul, which is important. We don't want him talking to us and slowing us down. Run along the grass here, not on the concrete. That way this guard on the right here won't hear us. When the second guard here lines up with a tree trunk is when you want to turn. Tag the data cube, because it has the login and password for the front doors of the statue up here. Head straight for the panel. Don't worry about the camera. NSF001 smash the state. Alt-D to quickly open the door. Smash the state always gives me trouble whenever I type it. Most of it's in the left hand, and I usually bork it, so I have to slow myself down to be accurate. Now we're going to just run up to the top of the statue and talk with the terrorist leader to get him to surrender. You can skip conversations in Deus Ex by just holding the spacebar and zipping right through.
Tell me about.
But in conversations that have dialogue options, holding spacebar will just select the first option, the top option, and continue zipping through, which isn't a problem unless it is. So for example, up there at the top of the statue with the terrorist leader, selecting the first option will actually cause him to aggro us, and he'll shoot us point blank, most likely killing us instantly on realistic difficulty. So we actually want to choose the second option. And in situations like that, instead of holding spacebar, you would just hold escape. The escape key does the exact same thing, except for it stops at dialogue options and lets you select which one you need. You can navigate with the arrow keys and select with spacebar. We'll just jump over Paul's conversation trigger there. And you can just hold spacebar to keep zipping through the conversation, or hold escape again if there's a second dialogue tree later on in the conversation. Before we continue, I should talk about how enemy AI and movement works. Basically, the way an enemy or an NPC is programmed to act at any given time is referred to as their state. States are dynamic and can change depending on the situation. But most NPCs and enemies begin every map in some kind of neutral state, like wandering or patrolling or standing guard. And those states can change, you know, if they hear a noise or if they see you and start attacking you. Another thing is that most enemies and NPCs are in something called stasis. Stasis just means they're frozen, they're paused, they're not moving or acting out their states at all. They're just like ice sculptures. And they stay like that until they're brought out of stasis. And that can happen in a variety of ways, but the two ways we're concerned with have to do with rendering and distance or proximity. So most NPCs and enemies will be frozen until you render them into the game world, or maybe put more simply, until you look at them. If you can look at them and see them on your game screen, then the engine renders them and starts them acting out their AI states, so they look alive, you know. But then if you look away, they'll just pause where they were until you look back at them. The other way has to do with proximity. So even though you can't see an enemy, for example, if they're on the... Make sure you interact with the police boat before you take that dive. So for example, even though you can't see an enemy, maybe they're on the other side of a wall, you can still get close enough to them to knock them out of stasis and get them acting out their AI state or their patrols or whatever. Speaking of stasis, this gunfight up here won't happen until you actually render these characters onto the screen. The game wants to make sure that you're looking at them so you can see the fight and the action play out. We'll grab this box here, throw it to distract them, jump over, and we're going to grab this TNT crate here and hopefully not get shot on the way to the subway. We're going to use this crate here to rescue a homeless person who's going to give us a password that we need later on. We have to rescue him from 2 NSF thugs. With this segmented strat, which is not marathon safe, we can just use the the TNT crate to just straight up kill them. Turn them into meatballs. Rescuing the bum, and he gives us the password. That's very inconsistent. That's a really tough throw to get consistently without killing yourself or the bum. There's an alternate strat for that. Again, speaking of stasis, well, not really stasis, this fight starts with a trigger, but whether or not that guard breaks through that door is completely random, but if he does, you have the fastest strat going. This segment here, on the way to the NSF warehouse where we have to destroy the NSF power generator, took me 8 months to capture. It's the reason why me finishing this run took so long, apart from my own procrastination, but here we go, we're setting it up. We're moving in close to the warehouse to bring a terrorist inside, Terrorist 7, out of stasis. They're on a wandering state. We jump here to make a noise, which alerts another terrorist, Terrorist 8, and boom. The generator's destroyed, and Jock has spawned at the roof, our helicopter pilot, our way out. So what happened was, we brought Terrorist 7 out of stasis, so they started acting out their wandering state. They were wandering in a random direction, and that's where the RNG comes in. Like, you can't control which direction Terrorist 7 ends up wandering in. But Terrorist 8, you know, distracting him with that noise is pretty consistent. When Terrorist 8 hears the noise on the other side of the wall on the outside, he starts moving out of the warehouse to come outside and investigate. And in this instance just now, Terrorist 7 was wandering in a direction that intersected with Terrorist 8's path. Terrorist 8 collided with 7 and redirected around Terrorist 7 into the generator, destroying it. So in this game, enemies can destroy breakable objects like crates, doors, and power generators. So here we want to block Anna's path, and we want to get Walton Simons there to stop and say his little bark, his line, to give us a nice clear path into and out of Manderley's office. Most of these strategies in this run are geared towards speed, trying to find the fastest way possible that things can be done. And because this is a segmented run, we can retry over and over again to get the optimal solutions. But you can totally do an ultimate run casually without an eye for speed running. There are multiple strategies for most everything. Here we are back in Battery Park, and we're going to trade the password we got from the homeless person we saved back in Hell's Kitchen for a key code to a telephone booth up here from this guy. I jumped back there, and what I was doing was I was jumping with the space bar, and then I continued to hold it to set up the conversation skip that just happened back there. That's called a jump skip. There's the code we just got. Because you jump, and then you skip a conversation. Jump skip is pretty easy to execute. You just jump, hold space, and then you can use the mouse wheel to interact with whoever you need to talk to. But there is a catch. If you add any inputs into your keyboard, it cancels it out. So don't do that. Here in Brooklyn Bridge Station, the goal is to get through a secret passage that is in the women's room wall. There's many ways you can get through there, but what we're going to do is we're just going to get rid of the wall by taking this crate to a guy in the men's room called Lenny. Lenny has a LAM, L-A-M, lightweight attack munition. We're going to bop him on the head twice, and he will get very angry with us, and he will try to kill us with the LAM. A LAM is basically a grenade that can double as a proximity mine. Sometimes this lady can mess Lenny's pathing up, but we got lucky here. Stand here so he throws the grenade there. Lenny didn't make it, no more wall. So the explosive damage passed through the bathroom stall and destroyed the wall, but we were still protected. That's just a little explosive damage quirk in Deus Ex. Now earlier I mentioned that there were NPCs and enemies that worked in stasis, meaning they didn't start acting out their AI states until you either looked at them or were close enough to them. But that guard back there is actually on a global timer, meaning he's acting out his AI state as soon as the map loads, regardless of where you are in relation to him, whether or not you can see him or not. So every map has a certain amount of enemies and NPCs who are in a global, who work on a global timer. They're always moving no matter what. So knowing which ones are on a global timer and which ones are in stasis and are thus able to be manipulated is going to be important to, essential to setting up some strategies later on in the game. And now we're on our way to the tunnels to the helipad. So up here what we're going to do is we're going to grab this crate and we're going to go through some steam here. Now the steam coming out of the pipes won't actually hurt you. The thing that actually hurts you is being in contact with the ground. That's how steam damage works. So we just throw the crate, jump on top of that, and jump again to catch a pipe. We are going to sneak behind this guy here a little bit and then bait him to turn, like that. He's turning to his left. We have a window of time before he turns to the next sound he heard. And that's when we take our opportunity to run behind him on the other side. And we're going to stack these two crates here to block the security panel. And we're just going to walk right on top of his head and Goomba stomp him to death and pick up his nanokey. So that guard in that case, his first move when he sees you is to run for that security panel, not attack you, so that works in our favor. We're going to drop the pistol and knife that we picked up from that guy. We don't need them. We can't use them. And we're going to cheat to the right here in this hallway because on the left corner there is an EMP grenade that we can set off. Now right there when I quick saved, you might have noticed that that bot there down at the end on the left kind of jumped forward a little bit. That's because even though the saving text is on screen, the game world is still computing everything's movements. Everything is still moving, but the engine isn't updating the frames while the save text is on screen. So anytime I'm saving in the middle of the level, I made sure to leave all of those save text frames in the video, because the world is still moving. We're going to lean out there just a little bit to set off the alarm. It's faster to set off the alarm and then wait it out than it is to wait for the camera to cool down. And we're going to move on to the airfield now. And here we are, the airfield. A fun fact about the airfield, not all of these shipping containers have collision. You can actually move through some of them. You can tell which containers don't have collision because you'll be able to see the light coronas coming off of the tall lampposts around the field, shining through them. How many can you find? We're just gonna take this crate here and walk it over to this gate that's locked so we can use it to jump through a hole in the gate. Off to the right there you can see a little box with a red light on it. That box is locked and it contains the switch to open the gate. Normally you would find a nanokey somewhere in the level. You'd use it to unlock that box and then you could interact with the gate switch inside, but the box is actually broken here in Game of the Year Edition. You can actually interact with the switch from the outside of the box, from the back. You don't have to find the nanokey. So it's kind of a broken switch that we don't use. Get the code for this door from that data cube. Get into the hangar. The main reason why we don't use that switch in Ultimate Run is so as not to set up a precedent to use other broken switches in the game, particularly a switch at the end of the game that's broken that lets you skip to one of the 3 endings without actually having to play through the final parts of the game to achieve that ending. So, broken switches are out in Ultimate Run. We don't use them. We set up a jump skip there to skip Lebedev, and we set up a jump skip there to skip Anna. And in Ultimate Run, she kills Lebedev. It's possible to save Lebedev by killing Anna, but in Ultimate Run, I don't believe that's feasible. You might be able to kill Anna under Ultimate Run conditions with no items or weapons or anything, but you would most likely lose too much health, and you wouldn't be able to finish the run. So now we're just making our way back to the helipad. UNATCO has come to the airfield now, and they're populating the place. Right there is Gunter. And Paul has officially defected now. I jump in midair and then interact with the helicopter, because that skips the ending conversation with Jock and jumps right into the exit sequence. Okay, so here we are at UNATCO again for our 3rd visit. This is going to be our shortest one. All we have to do is go to Manderley's office, talk to him, and then leave. But to get to Manderley's office, we have to go through his secretary, Janice Reed's office. And what we're going to do here on this visit is when we get to her office, we're going to jump over the threshold to her door and hold spacebar while we're in her office. And this lets us avoid a conversation trigger. Jump skip Manderley and jump and hold spacebar again through Janice's office. And as we're leaving, I want to point out the 2 lines we're going to hear. Right there, Scott says, "So long, Agent," and up here in the lobby, Private Lloyd is going to say, "We'll miss you, Agent." I just think this is a wonderful bit of writing that subtly foreshadows what's going to happen after we leave here. They sound like throwaway lines, but I think they're really low-key goodbyes, considering what's going to happen in the plot next. And Manderley has commanded us to go to Hong Kong to assassinate a man called Tracer Tong, but Jock is being totally cool, and he's actually taking us back into New York City to Paul, who is dying and needs our help. So Jock and Paul are cool. Be careful when you dismount the ladder. You don't want to do it too early or you'll take fall damage. Jump skip there. We can talk to Paul through the wall, and we're just going to drop over the side of the fire escape and catch the top of a billboard on the side of a building to break our fall and get down safely. Now our objective is to go to the top of the nearby NSF warehouse and send a distress signal to an underground rebel group in France called Silhouette. We're supposed to do that by using 2 computers at the top of the warehouse. The first one aligns the satellite dishes to send the signal and unlocks a door that gives us access to the second computer. And the second computer is where we actually send the signal. But in the Game of the Year edition, it isn't actually necessary to use the first computer. In some kind of oversight, the Game of the Year edition of Deus Ex was released with older, outdated versions of the maps, and some of the flags and triggers weren't programmed in, that had already been programmed in on newer versions of the maps. So, for example, the flag that checks whether or not these satellite dishes have been aligned at the top of the warehouse isn't actually set, and you can just go straight to sending the signal no problem. The only point of the first computer, then, is to unlock the door that gives us access to the second computer. But we're going to take care of that door through other means, as you're going to see very soon. We're just making our way to the top of the warehouse right now, where we will find 2 conveniently placed TNT crates. We're going to put this first crate off to the side for now. We're going to use this for later. It's going to be a retirement gift for Anna Navarra. And we're going to use this second TNT crate right away, and it's going to accomplish 3 things for us. It's going to kill that guard, blow open the windows, and destroy that door that gives us access to the second computer. If we didn't kill that guard, he would have attacked us as we tried to escape the roof here. We're going to use this crate to do a trick called crate drop. Basically, you push a crate against a perpendicular-ish surface while also pushing it over a ledge of some kind. And as it's going over the ledge, you can walk right onto the top of it and ride it down like an elevator without taking any damage. It's very useful.
Everybody check weapons.
If you want to play along, you can, of course, take the handful of seconds to use that first computer and align the dishes, but whether you align the dishes or not has no effect on the game, at least in Game of the Year edition. So here in Ultimate Run, it's okay to skip it. I think the Game of the Year edition of Deus Ex might be some kind of rare instance where the supposedly definitive version of the game actually contains older, outdated maps that had already been superseded by previous releases. It's just kind of interesting. So here we're going to go back to Paul and tell him that we sent the signal. But be careful here, if you jump in Paul's apartment, it is possible to soft lock the game. Paul won't talk to you. And as we went over the side there and caught the top of that billboard, we heard JC grunt this time. Usually a grunt might be a sign of having taken damage, but damage is almost always accompanied by a red flash on the screen as well as a grunt. But this time we heard only a grunt. However, I'm still going to check my health here before we hop on the subway just to make sure we didn't take any damage. And we're keeping it 100. There's Anna. There was Anna. She was secretly meatballs the whole time. Always has been. And here we're just going to surrender to Gunter. We want to surrender to Gunter in Battery Park as opposed to getting killed in the Tan Hotel raid in Paul's apartment, because this way we can keep all of our health. We're going to need every little bit of health we can for Ultimate Run. We're going to use the bathroom because who knows when our next chance is going to come. And just hug the right here to avoid the guards seeing you. Now what we have to do is we have to go to Paul's body. We're going to talk to this doctor, aptly named Dr. Moreau, and he's going to give us the code to the medical bay where Paul is. To get there, we're going to open this door to release some mutagenic creatures, giant ones called Karkians. 0199 is that code, I believe. There's Paul. And the mysterious Daedalus, who is contacting us now, gives us the the code to the exit door. 1125. So now all hell is breaking loose because of the Karkians, and we're going to make our way to the exit. Crouch here to avoid this guard seeing you. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the guard down here at the far end to hear the alarm going off. And when he hears the alarm, he's going to start running towards it. We're going to drop down just out of his line of sight. And we're going to quickly run to the door here. Put in 1125. And we're going to run past this MJ-12 troop. Okay, right away we're going to do a crouch jump to make some noise and lure the guard, and we're also going to stay crouched so he doesn't see us. And right about when Daedalus says the word Jaime is when that guard will turn around and we can run behind him. So we're back in UNATCO, running through Jaime's office, and we're going to go straight to Alex Jacobson. He's going to give us the key to the locked exit door. He'll only give you the key if Anna Navarra is dead, and since we already killed her, he gives us the key right away. But if you hadn't killed Anna by this point in the game, she'll be waiting right here in front of this door, and Alex won't give you the key out until you take care of her. So now pretty much we just run out to the helipad where Jock is going to be waiting for us. And the guard up here is a pretty good shot. I'd say, I don't know, maybe like a 50-50 chance that he'll shoot you as you're trying to run out, but hopefully you get lucky. Make sure you save beforehand. And when you make it outside, just set up a jump skip and interact with the chopper. This will let you skip Jock's dialogue and go straight into the exit sequence. And now we're off to Hong Kong. This level, the MJ-12 helicopter base, has probably gone through the most changes of any of the levels while trying to figure out Ultimate Run. I think some of the original strats took a long time. The level took probably like 9.5 to 10.5 minutes to complete, but now it's just a little under 1.5, I believe. The goal of this level is to get a key that's in one of these locked lockers so that we can unlock Jock's helicopter systems so he can escape, and by extension we'll be able to escape. And there's the key with the locker open for us. And what we're doing is we're basically luring all these guards one direction and then another by throwing different items. And what happened in the course of all that is one of the guards bumped into that locker, they collided with it, and it opened the door for us. So that's a handy thing to know, is that enemies, when they collide with a door, they can either destroy it or open it for you. This exit strategy here is extremely risky. I would not recommend it if you're doing a single segment marathon run of Ultimate Run. But since we're doing segmented, we can just keep trying over and over again until we get a good one. And now here we are in Hong Kong proper. Good old Wan Chai Market, which is a real place apparently. I've never been. But right away we can just go straight to Maggie Chow's penthouse and find the Dragon's Tooth sword. Dragon Tooth? Dragon's Tooth? Maybe it's the Dragon Tooth.
I bet you come from the market. That's where
We did come from the market. We're in Queen's Tower. We're going to use the penthouse elevator. I'm just aligning my crosshair up with a texture on the door so I can get a nice button press. And I'm going to be jumping here in the back corner of the elevator because that brings the maid forward so that we can talk to her right when the elevator doors open. If we don't talk to her like that, if we talk to her in her default position further back into the room, then after we talk with her, she'll start running after us, chasing us throughout the penthouse. And we don't want that. We want her walking like that just now. If she starts running and chasing us, then she's eventually going to block our way as we try and leave this room. She'll come blocking us right about here, and she'll probably start shooting us. And we need that hallway cleared up for obvious reasons, because as we were leaving that room that had the Dragon's Tooth sword in it, there was an MJ-12 trooper right there with an assault shotgun ready to give us the business. That's also very difficult. Well, I won't say difficult, it's just very unreliable and inconsistent. But because we're doing a segmented run here, we can try all the risky, difficult strats to try and get an optimal time. So now we're going to get a very special crate. I feel very close to this crate. I call it the Crate of Destiny, and I have a theory that it's full of drugs. I'm pretty sure those two gentlemen back there were drug dealers, and as soon as we pick up this crate, they get very angry and they aggro onto us. I think that's the lore behind the Crate of Destiny. We're pretty much going to make use of it all throughout the Hong Kong section of the game. Pretty much immediately, starting now. So we have to get into the Lucky Money Club, but we're unlucky, because we can't spend any money in Ultimate Run. So we're just going to throw the crate on top of that poor young girl's head, drop the crate right in that doorway for specific reasons. The girls in their panic will run into the club, and that door will open automatically for them, so we don't have to pay a cover charge. I wouldn't recommend doing that in real life. It seems like a bad idea. We're going to run into this back room, and we're going to hug the wall to the left, because if you get too close to that table, it'll trigger a conversation. We're going to talk to this fellow, who is the leader of the Red Arrow Triad. When all of a sudden, MJ-12 commandos bust in. These are the big scary enemies of the game. And we're going to pick up our crate that we dropped right there. We put it in that doorway because if we didn't, then that MJ-12 commando that we just ran past would have spawned right in our way, blocking our exit. We got lucky. He had his back turned to us. But if he sees you, then as you're running away down the hall, he'll start shooting rockets at you probably. And if one of those rockets breaks one of the shop windows, it'll set off an alarm, and then the police in that hallway will aggro onto you, thinking you were trying to break into them, I guess. It's kind of messed up. It's kind of lame. But because we've done all these things, we were able to gain access into this compound, which is the Luminous Path Triad compound. And that gives us access to Tracer Tong, the man who can help us out. And we need him to help us out because, well, for various reasons, but the most pressing of which is our kill switch. Back when UNATCO captured us, they started up our kill switch, which gives us 24 hours to live. But we've made it to Hong Kong in time, and Tracer Tong's handy little gizmo here, it's actually a creepy looking gizmo, turns off the kill switch somehow. Yeah, don't worry about these electrical arcs. You can run into them, you can touch them. They don't actually do any damage, even though JC is grunting. So that sequence takes about, I don't know, 20 seconds. You have to sit through it because Tracer Tong won't talk to you until it's over. So we talked to Tracer Tong right there, and he gave us the key code to get into VersaLife, our next port of call. The code into VersaLife is one of my favorite. It just feels so fun putting it in on a 10 key. 06288. I don't know, it just like flows very nicely. I like it. And off to the left there, you could see the Triad Doggo. That kid is Louis Pan. He's a young, innocent mind being molded by the Triads. But we're going to get our Crate of Destiny and go into VersaLife. Now, Ultimate Run is a handful. You always have to know what you're doing, and you always have to be careful and cautious. But there are 3 parts of the run in particular that I find very challenging, and the first of those is here in VersaLife. This is one of the first parts of the run where we're going to have to be entering and exiting the same maps multiple times, and each time we pass through the maps, the situation gets progressively difficult. So now we're going to have to be very intentional about our strategies, about our enemy placement manipulations, and we need to make sure that we're leaving a map as we want to find it when we return there later. And all of that starts here with killing this guy. He is the floor supervisor, Mr. Hundley. And we can't do damage to him until he aggroes us, and we do that by dropping 2 items on his head, just like with Lenny back in Brooklyn Street Station. Killing Hundley gives this gentleman in the cubicle, John Smith, the peace of mind to give us the elevator key code down into the Majestic 12 Labs, 6512. Because we can't use money in Ultimate Run, we can't bribe Hundley for that key code. And right off the bat, we're going to have to start setting things up. We just passed an MJ-12 commando, and we're running towards an MJ-12 troop carrying a GEP gun, which is pretty much a rocket launcher. We hit him on the head one time so that he goes back to his previous waypoint on his patrol. And we do the same thing here with this Majestic 12 commando, because we want him as far away from that hand statue there as possible. MJ-12 troop comes back and we hit him on the head a second time to get his aggro. He runs to the security panel to set it off, and right there to the left you might have noticed a guard walking into that open door. That is a flamethrower troop running on a global timer. You can check your pace according to his position. GEP gunner sees us and we have to jump forward and dodge that rocket. Very dangerous, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. Otherwise that flamethrower guard is going to come out of that room and see us and make a big mess of it all. We were standing next to a cabinet up there in that office, and the rocket blew it open for us, and inside that cabinet was a data cube that had a password that we need. The password is Damocles. We're going to go up this elevator, and up here in this hallway there's an MIB, a man in black, who is also on a global timer, so you can kind of gauge your pace according to his position when you get here. We're going to touch this data cube that has the login for the password that we just got. That's M. Chow. And we're going to be moving this chair so we can access a vent in the ceiling. But we're going to try and keep looking down as much as possible because there's a large window overlooking the hand statue hallway. And that MJ-12 commando that we passed earlier is a stasis enemy. So we don't want to look out the window and render that commando and let him progress any further along his patrol because, like we said, we want him very far away from the hand statue. We were holding the crate, but we just opened the grate there, the vent, and we walked into it, interacted with the grate, the vent, and it lifted up, and it lifted us up with it. Now there what I'm doing is I'm just hugging the corner of the wall as I go down the ladder, and that lets you fall, and then you just move your mouse over to grab the ladder at the last minute. Just be careful with that. You don't want to kill yourself. Now we're going to leave the Crate of Destiny in this level 2 access hallway. I call it the Star Wars hallway. Fear not, Crate of Destiny, we will come back for you. Save here to set up this kind of tricky mount onto this platform, access the computer and use the M. Chow Damocles login password that we got, and dropping off the platform triggers an alarm. There's a way to drop off the platform without triggering the alarm, but we don't want that. We want the alarm to go off because it aggroes these enemies up here, and we need that to manipulate their positions. Save here because this next part is very dangerous and inconsistent, mainly because of this guy's AI. He's unstoppable. And dodge a rocket, we know Kung Fu. That's why we want the MJ-12 commando as far away from the hand statue as possible. We don't want him anywhere near us when we come up those stairs. At a great enough distance, MJ-12 commandos will only fire their rockets at you, and those are easy to dodge, but if they close the gap on you, they'll switch over to their assault rifles. And that's extremely deadly. We crouch down there to stop making noise, so the MJ-12 commando doesn't tail us, and he stays down there, and we have set up this map for our return. So now we have to escape VersaLife and set it up for our entrance again later on. We're just going to drop over here. Since the alarm got set off back in the MJ-12 labs earlier, we are no longer welcome anywhere in VersaLife, which means all of these security guards are going to aggro onto us. We'll just wait to get their attention up here, and they'll start running up here after us. But we won't be here because we're going to take this vent and drop down to the first floor. And we need to be careful around these cubicles. We need to stay crouched and hidden because there is a secret guard ready to shoot us down here. We'll make a run for it. And the receptionist is also armed, so be careful there and get on out. Now this next part is pretty straightforward, so I'm going to take this chance to recap the plot up to this point. Hang on. So we're in Hong Kong to make contact with Tracer Tong, whom our brother Paul was ordered to assassinate by UNATCO, but Juan Lebedev, who is a friend of Tracer Tong and also the leader of the NSF, convinced Paul to defect to the NSF after giving him evidence that UNATCO was not simply the United Nations Anti-Terrorist Coalition, but was actually a corrupt arm of a global organization bent on world domination called Majestic 12, and Paul convinced us to defect. Majestic 12 was originally a division of the Illuminati, but after a coup by an Illuminati member called Bob Page, who is the world's richest man, by the way, Majestic 12 took over the Illuminati, and Bob Page is now the MJ12 leader and is also the president of VersaLife, the place where we just were. And VersaLife is the sole producer of a drug called Ambrosia. Ambrosia is the only vaccine available to fight a deadly virus called the Grey Death, which is the cause of an epidemic happening across the United States. VersaLife also produced the Dragon's Tooth sword, but the original prototype was stolen by the Red Arrow Triad. Maggie Chow, who actually works for VersaLife and by extension Majestic 12, murdered the former Red Arrow leader, took the sword back, and blamed the sword's disappearance on Tracer Tong's Luminous Path Triad, effectively starting a triad war between the two organizations. All of that was a ploy set up by Bob Page in an effort to weaken the triads in a bid to take control of Hong Kong. Tracer Tong wanted us to steal the Dragon's Tooth schematics from VersaLife, which we did earlier, so that both triads could have access to the sword and thus alleviate tensions and strengthen the relationship between the Luminous Path and the Red Arrow. So now we're back in VersaLife. We have MJ12 commandos to deal with now. We'll just wait until that one aggroes onto us. We throw the chair to create a distraction and crouch immediately, so that the MJ12 commando investigates the chair and not us. 6512 to take the elevator back to MJ12 Labs, where we now have a giant spider bot waiting for us. Pause at the entrance here for about 3 seconds, strafe to the right, then run straight forward. That will cause the spider bot to keep walking forward and not track onto us. And we also have a new MJ12 commando in addition to the one we left down there earlier, but we got lucky there. And that MJ12 commando fired a rocket and accidentally turned the other one into meatballs for us, so that's lucky. I wouldn't count on that happening all the time, though. And earlier we just took our first damage of the run. We lost 15 HP in our left arm from the spider bot. Run until you distract this MJ12 commando and then crouch immediately. Hide in the shadows, sneak around him, and we're going to wait for this MJ12 troop to turn around on his patrol. We're going to sneak up, and then at the last second, run around him, grab our precious Crate of Destiny, and head for level 2 labs using 55655. Tracer Tong gave us the code 55655 the last time we talked to him, and he wants us to come back down here to the level 2 labs, because he found out that VersaLife, in addition to producing the Ambrosia vaccine, also produces the Grey Death virus itself. And he wants us to steal the schematics for the virus so he can reverse engineer a cure from it. And the mysterious AI Daedalus just now asked us to destroy something down here called the Universal Constructor, which is the large machine that VersaLife uses to produce the Grey Death virus. So destroy the Universal Constructor, stop production of the virus. That's the idea. And here we're going to wait until Tracer Tong's infolink ends and the next one starts before we access this computer, and we're going to wait in the computer interface here to wait until the security camera cools off. You can't quick save or hard save during an infolink, and because we're moving so fast through the game, we have a bunch of infolinks stacking up on top of each other, and we need to be careful about their timing because we're going to need to open up a window for us to quick save here in a couple seconds. And that window is right now, so quick save, because this next part's tricky, and the next batch of infolinks start up. So now we have to escape the VersaLife facility through these tunnels here, but we have 0 swimming skill, so we're very slow in the water. We go up here, refill our oxygen, and we enter this tunnel where we meet Carl the Karkian. Carl with a K. I love this guy and I hate this guy. Normally in a single segment marathon situation, I would lure Carl out of the tunnel and then go back into the tunnel when he's not in there so we can swim safely through. But because this is segmented and we're going for speed, I'm just going to try and make a run for it. Carl is right on our butts right now, and he'll kill you instantly, more or less. So we don't grab that second air pocket, and we take a hit right there from losing oxygen. That took off 10 points of health from our torso, but we're not too worried about that. In Ultimate Run, we need to make sure that we get to Paris with at least 73 HP in our torso. 61 HP if you're feeling saucy. And in Deus Ex, you die when you lose all of your torso HP or all of your head HP. So to finish the run, we just need to get to the end of the game with 1 HP in our torso and 1 HP in our head. But we also need to keep the HP of both our left and right legs above 67. And that's because for every 33 hit points you lose in a leg, that leg gets progressively slower. So keeping both legs above 67 HP maintains our maximum speed. And we want to do that not just for speedrun purposes, but also for safety purposes. We want to be as fast as we can so we can run away from dangerous situations as fast as we can. So we've just destroyed the Universal Constructor in VersaLife, and that has ceased production of the Grey Death virus, which is great. But Tracer Tong has just learned that there is a large shipment of the Grey Death on its way to New York City right now on a super freighter, or a very big boat. And the former owner of that super freighter was an Illuminati leader called Stanton Dowd. Stanton Dowd is in New York. The Grey Death is on its way to New York. So that's where we're going next. Jock should be landed in the compound courtyard right now. But before we leave Hong Kong, I think we should have a moment of silence for our dearly departed friend, the Crate of Destiny. A true companion who lost its life tragically in the great Universal Constructor explosion of 2052. It will be missed. Wasn't the music in Hong Kong great? Speaking of music, in the Game of the Year edition, this map is missing its music, but you can find a replacement map file online that has the music added back in, which is what I'm using here. Just one of those Game of the Year edition quirks. So now we're going to go talk to a guy called Harley Philbin, who's going to set up the meeting with Dowd for us. Set up a jump skip. Here's Harley, talk to him. Now we're going to go over and talk to a guy with the best line in the whole game. Nah. That guy's Vinny. Talking with him lets us walk through the front gate of the naval base in the next map, which is going to make things a lot easier for us. Alright, now we're going to go meet Dowd, who's going to tell us how to scuttle the super freighter, which is docked at the naval base currently, the Brooklyn naval base. We're going to go meet him in the blown out storefront of Osgood & Sons. Jump here, jump again, hold spacebar to set up a jump skip, talk to Dowd, and watch out for that fire barrel. Dowd tells us that the only way to destroy the super freighter is to destroy 5 weld points with explosives below decks, but we don't have any explosives, so we have to get some before the game will progress. We want to get that riot cop's attention so he pauses on his patrol. That'll give us some distance between us and him whenever we come out of here. We're in Smuggler's Lair. We're going to do a crouch jump right here to hit 2 lasers. The first laser opens that door, the second laser toggles it closed again. Here's Smuggler. Smuggler can sell us explosives, but we're not going to buy any. The first dialogue option there, we choose the last option, which is forget it. We're not going to buy any explosives from him, and we're just going to find our own explosives at the naval base. And that's how we resolve the explosives check for the game, and the game progresses. The second option allows us to tell Smuggler about the UNATCO raid that's happening right now. If you tell him about the raid, he'll escape. If you don't tell him about it, he gets captured. I always choose to tell him about the raid because Smuggler's a cool guy. And the UNATCO raid basically amounts to a bunch of MJ-12 troops spawning all across the map, and they all have an AI hive mind, and they know exactly where you're at, and they just come running for you to attack you. It's really lame. So the safest way to avoid all that is to go through the Ton Hotel and escape out of Paul's fire escape. But again, it's a crapshoot. We get lucky here because this is segmented run and we can just reload our save and try to get through without getting hurt as much as we want. But in a single segment run, you just got to be very careful and you'll probably end up loading a lot. Set up a jump skip here and talk to this guy who is Vinny's friend. He gives us a nanokey to open the front gate into the naval base. And in a single segment run, we would spend some time getting an explosive TNT crate from this map. because there are 5 weld points and we need to use 5 explosives to destroy them. We use TNT crates to destroy the weld points. But in segmented ultimate run, we do a riskier strat that is faster but more dangerous. We're going to go into the ship with only 4 explosive TNT crates available to us, which means we have to destroy that last one somehow. 0909. That's the code we found in the bathroom stall earlier. So we're going to tap that data cube right there. It has the key code for this ramp right here. Crouch so you don't alert that MJ12 troop. 6655 is the key code on that data cube. And here is the second challenging part of the run. The setup for the ship. There are 2 saves back there. I made a hard save and a quick save. And the ship is divided into the upper decks and the lower decks. So here in the upper decks, the goal is to round up all of the sailors and the Chinese military on the ship. And we want to trap them in the upper part of the upper decks, so they're out of our way. We need to get a key for below decks. We need to get the captain's login for a computer that's going to allow us to scuttle the ship. We're going to grab this chair, and we're going to get that key code into the armory. We got to be quick. We're going to drop down here through this vent. So all the noises we made lured the Chinese military and the American sailors up towards us. We just barely dropped down out of sight under that stairwell to escape them, and we're going to block them in there with that chair. Here's the armory. The code is 71324, and we have 2 TNT crates here. We're going to need both of them below decks. And we have to be quick because that security camera saw us and alerted us. This is very dangerous and inconsistent while we're getting these 2 TNT crates because it's pretty likely that either the sailors or the Chinese military will just break through that chair and come running after you. But we got lucky there, and I believe the Chinese military and the sailors started infighting, so that's good news for us. They're not in our hair. Now we're in below decks, and this setup is very difficult. We drop that crate and make some noise right there to alert the 2 guards below us and 1 guard patrolling the hallway. 1 of 2 guards patrolling the hallway. And we destroy the first weld point right there. These movements are very precise, but what we want is we want the 3 guards to come running towards the explosion to investigate it, which is what we get. Now we're going to go get the second crate and destroy the second weld point down here. There it is. And the second weld point is on the other side of this wall here. Destroy it, and crouch so we're not making any noises. The guards are going to run over to investigate the explosion, but they will also latch onto any noises you're making. So you got to be very careful. Now we're going to drop down over here and get the attention of the second guard patrolling in the hallway out here. We're going to run and crouch, and we're going to let the security camera alert to us. We're going to set off the alarm. We're going to stay crouched until we hear that guard cock his gun. When you hear the gun cocking, that's your signal to get up and start running. Set up a jump skip here. Skip the mechanic's conversation, and we're going to get our 3rd TNT crate right here to destroy the 3rd weld point right here. Hide from the explosion. There it is. Quick save. Because those electrical arcs can get you. And there's also a spider bot right behind us, whose position is completely RNG based. It's in a wandering state, but yeah, just be aware. You might have to reload that quick save multiple times back there. And now we're on our way to the 4th weld point, but we don't have an explosive crate. What are we going to do? How are we going to blow this up? First, we're going to save, because this is very inconsistent, and this is why I wouldn't do this in a single segmented run, because it takes a lot of time. But there's a guard here, or a Chinese military. We're going to get his attention, and he has a lamb. We're going to stand by the weld point. He threw the lamb at us, and when it exploded, it took out the weld point. And I think that guard with it. So that's how we destroy weld point 4. We get the guard to destroy it for us with his own grenade. And now we're just going to make our way back. Save here, because this spider bot and these electrical arcs can nail ya. Now we're going to get this last TNT crate to destroy the fifth and final weld point. Now, because we lured those hallway patrolling guards out of the hallway earlier, we have free reign of the hallway right now, but actually in this run, in this instance here, I think we were a little too fast, and one of the hallway guards actually returned to their patrol, and they came into this room, and they're going to spot us up on the left catwalk. That guard and this guard are stasis guards, so their movement is pretty consistent, but up there on the left, you see that guard. He's one of the hallway guards from earlier. We were a little too fast, and he saw us. He sees us right now. We're going to use this computer with the captain's login that we got earlier, and that reverses the bilge pumps, which gets the ship to sinking after we've destroyed all the weld points. This is very risky. These guards will most likely shoot you, but we get lucky here. And now we just escape the ship. Right here at the top of the stairs is a trigger that alerts all of the guards in the area to your position. They all aggro onto you, which is really lame. But we get very lucky. Again, segmented run. We can just reload until we get a good one. And we escape the shipyard. But here, because when we left this map, the robots saw us. The robots are aggroed onto us, so you have to be careful of them. We're going to take the elevator up to the top of the crane, and Jock is waiting for us up here on the roof. We're going to press that button to lower the crane. Be careful. And we're going to jump here, again carefully, and we're going to jump and activate the chopper in midair, because that will exit the final dialogue and go straight to the exit sequence. But be careful, because the propellers can kill you. And here we are at the Lower East Side Cemetery. Set up a jump skip right there. I like this level because it's short and sweet and has a fun little trick that's difficult to pull off. It involves this gatekeeper over here who is actually an MJ-12 spy. We're going to use his body to destroy some things for us. First is this bookshelf off to the right. Second, after his moonwalk, just now was an EMP jammer. What happened was as he was walking, we pushed him forward into the edge of that door at a certain angle so that when the door closed, it pushed him back into a straight line into the secret room behind that bookshelf into the EMP jammer, destroying it. You have to destroy the EMP jammer or else Jock can't land and you can't exit the level. After we talked to Stanton Dowd there, we just ran right out of the mausoleum straight to Jock's chopper, but that's all thanks to good old RNG reloading lucky roll of the dice stuff. Normally you can't just run out of the mausoleum to the chopper without being seen by the MJ-12 troops. So in the single segment run, we would use a different, safer strat that involves a pillow and a crypt. So now we're off to Paris in the longest exit sequence of the game, I think, like 20 seconds. Well, enjoy Paris. First off, we have this drop that's pretty tricky to get the hang of, but it lets you drop down relatively safely. You might have heard JC grunt just there. The screen didn't flash red, but we did in fact lose 1 point of HP in both of our legs. You'll see that here in a few seconds. And now we're in pitch black darkness. So we can't use the flashlight augmentation in Ultimate Run, so we have to navigate all of this in the dark. It's very difficult, and there's a specific setup and movements you have to do, but when we get to the end of this, we're going to get to a room that is full of radiation, and we cannot avoid it. This is why I said we had to get to Paris with at least 73 HP in our torso. We take 6 hits of radiation in this room, and each hit of radiation is minus 12 HP. So at the end of all that, we lost 72 HP. Run through the sewers here, jump on this guy. That's a greasel. It's like a mix between a chicken and a velociraptor. They're very fast and annoying, and they shoot goop at you. So get out of here as quick as you can. In that radiation room, it is possible to take only 5 hits of radiation damage, but it's very difficult. I've only done it once myself. Now we're going to use this MJ-12 Commando's rockets to blow open the boards here, sealing the entrance to the crypt shut. This is very risky. This commando is also on a global timer, so if you don't get here fast enough from the start of the level, then you might have to wait again for another cycle for him. Now we're in the catacombs. There's a gas grenade there, but you can just hug this angled wall and the gas won't get you. We're going to crouch right here to avoid this MJ-12 troop. Wait a little bit. Then you're free to go. And in this room right here, there's an MJ-12 commando wandering around, but he won't see us. We're going to activate this brick here to open the secret passageway that takes us to a bunker where Silhouette is hiding out. Silhouette is a rebel faction fighting MJ-12, and you might remember them from earlier in the game when Paul asked us to send a distress signal to Silhouette from the top of the NSF warehouse back in Hell's Kitchen. So now we get the key to go through this door, and right here we want to pick up this TNT crate. Every time Tracer Tong says Crossfire right there, I can't help but think of the awesome 90s TV commercial for the board game Crossfire. Look up the Crossfire board game song. It's awesome. We're going to drop the TNT crate back there near the exit. We're just going to make a detour here, and we have to get the key to the exit. We want a quick save back there before Tong's info link, because this next part's a little tricky. Crouch here, and then stand up and run right when you get behind that flamethrower guard. We're going to run over here, and that's a woman in black. Her name is actually Hella. She's kind of the big bad down here. We got to grab that key, and we want to hug the left wall as we drop off the table there. If you don't do that, Hella will hear you, and it'll be bad. And now we just run back here, and back in this crawl space, we want to hug the left wall so that the MJ-12 troop patrolling just on the other side doesn't see us. And when we get here, we can pretty much just make a break for the exit. Grab the TNT crate, and here's the exit door. You gotta be quick here, because the MJ-12 troops are going to be chasing you. And as you round that corner to the right, be careful of that fire barrel. If it damages you, you'll drop the TNT crate and most likely blow yourself up. And now we're on our way to the Paris streets. These sewers will take you to various manholes around the streets of Paris. We're going to go up here to the left and take this manhole up here. It's unlocked. And right when you come out of this manhole, there are going to be a bunch of MJ-12 troops and commandos. It's like a checkpoint right up here waiting for us. So we want to run as fast as we can for the corner of that building and hug the right of it and run away as fast as we can. It's important that you have max speed in your legs, or else the troops and commandos will probably see you and it'll be bad. Now we're going to go into the back of the nightclub here and pay our cover charge. And in we go. Right up here there's a girl off to the right. Be careful about getting too close to her. If you do, you'll trigger a conversation. And if you're in the habit of holding spacebar to zip through conversations, you might accidentally hit the first dialogue option in her conversation, and you'll end up spending money. So if you do accidentally get too close to her and get into that conversation, just make sure to hold escape so you can select the second option so you don't spend money. Here we are, and this is the girl we talked to in the nightclub, who happens to be Nicolette Duclair, the daughter of a former Illuminati member. She's supposed to be in the helicopter with us, but clearly she's not. I think she's supposed to be off camera by the time that cutscene starts, but I think we got to her too fast, maybe. And you could also see Gunter Hermann running after us. He's pursued us all the way to Paris, thirsty for revenge for the death of Anna Navarra, which we might have had something to do with. And here we are at Chateau Duclair. As soon as the level starts, you want to start running forward, and make sure you don't get close to Nicolette. If you get close to Nicolette, she'll start a conversation with you. And we don't want to do that yet, because until that conversation starts, Nicolette is going to come running to us. And we can use her body as like a wrecking ball of sorts to destroy various boards and beams of debris that we need to have cleared for us. So up there behind that painting, we got the nanokey for the wine cellar right here, and a login and password for a computer we're going to use here. And right when we get here, as soon as we can highlight the candelabra, we'll wait for a generous count of 3 before we activate it. That's because Nicolette is still chasing after us, and if we activate the candelabra and open that door too early, Nicolette won't have time to catch up to us, and the door will close in front of her, blocking her. We're going to crouch under this beam, strafe to the left, wait for Nicolette to stop so she loses track of us, nudge forward so she can track us again, and crouch back under the beam so she'll run into it and break it for us. We're just going to grab a crate, jump over these beams. Nicolette will run through those as well and break them. Access the computer, and bduclair Nico_Angel is the password. And we sent a signal to an Illuminati leader called Morgan Everett, who we need to contact. In this info link here, Morgan tells us to talk to Nicolette so we can get a key from her. That key unlocks a door to the crypt that's at the end of a maze behind the chateau, but another quirk of Deus Ex is that we don't actually need the key to open that crypt door. As soon as you finish accessing the computer, MJ-12 commandos come out of the crypt door and open it for us anyways. So we don't have to stop and talk to Nicolette to get that key. At the end of the maze here, you'll see an MJ-12 commando off to the left, and the crypt door there. Don't worry about that commando, just keep running straight forward. And we want to run off that little concrete platform and into the door. Don't worry about jumping or anything, that'll probably get you hurt. Here we are at Cathedral. I really enjoy this level. If your timing and execution is just right, you can flow in and out relatively seamlessly. It's pretty smooth once you get it. The first order of business is to stack these 3 metal crates up so you can get over this gate. You want to make sure that when you start stacking that the first crate lands on the metal frame of the gate and not on the ground. If you stack from the ground, you won't have enough height to get over it. Just bait and switch that MJ-12 commando right there, so he turns and misses you. And right up around here, we're going to run into the bot's line of sight so it stops and starts tracking for us, but we're going to be behind it already. Glance to the left to render that MJ-12 commando. And bait and switch this MJ-12 commando. We want to glance to the left and render that first commando, because if we don't, he'll probably see us as we're crossing over behind the bot to the other MJ-12 commando, and it'll be really bad for us. Now we just run down this pathway to the Cathedral complex proper, and we're going to hide in this corner and wait for this security bot to turn around so we can make our move behind it. Right here. There we go. We'll cheat to the right and then bank back to the left. We're too fast for the bot, so it doesn't quite see us. We're going to climb up this trellis and go up onto the roof. You may notice there's a security bot down there in the courtyard. Because of that bot, we're going to go around the left side of the tower up here, and we're going to cross the bridge on the left side. If we don't do that, the bot down there will see us and will probably start shooting at us. We've crossed the line of sight of this sniper. He's stopped. We're going to wait for his bark to signal that he's turned around. Right there, and we're going to make a break for it. We're just going to run off the stairwell onto the other side of the stairwell. And we got to be quick because there's a sniper in the stairwell, and he'll nail us. Here we're going to jump around and make noise to lure an MJ-12 troop out into the stairwell. We're going to save here, go into this room and get this nanokey and this data cube. And there's a woman in black in there. We're going to run down those stairs to further lure the MJ-12 troop out so we can run around behind him. 0022 on this keypad. We got that from the data cube back in the woman in black room. And now we're going to come down here where we're going to have our final confrontation with Gunter. First, you want to run behind the computer and use the login and password we got from the data cube. We're going to save, and then we're going to jump for this column. Gunter's going to catch us in a conversation, but conversations can't trigger when you're in midair, so that's why we jump, to buy us more time so we can get to the column and get to cover as quick as we can. And yeah, you basically just run away. Like that. And we're going to use the nanokey we picked up in the woman in black room on this door out here. And if your timing has been right, this crossbow troop should be right about there. You can bait and switch him and just run straight on out. There's an MJ-12 commando off to the left who sees us, so just hug the left wall here to break line of sight as soon as you can. And yeah, we're pretty much home free. Easy peasy. There's a lot of baiting and switching in Cathedral, a lot of stuff you have to execute properly, but once you get it down, it's a pretty satisfying level. And now we're just gonna run through the metro here. Our goal here is to just run to the subway platform and make contact with Morgan Everett's associate, a guy called Toby Atanwe, who is going to take us to Morgan Everett's house so we can have a meeting with him. Just nice and relaxing. Cathedral can be a rather stressful level, so this is a nice little respite after all that. Just choose the first dialogue option, and as soon as you get into Morgan Everett's home here, just keep running forward. Much like the Chateau Duclair level, with Nicolette trying to run at us to have a conversation, Toby Atanwe is going to try and talk to you right when the level starts out, but if you're quick with your movement and you get going right as soon as you get control of JC, you can avoid him. All we have to do is just run over here, talk to Morgan Everett, who then gives us a key to his helipad, his rooftop. And that's where Jock's refueling his helicopter, and we're just going to exit the level. There are a lot of side quests, and there's a bunch of side content you can discover here. It's hidden away, but we're not going to do any of that, including the mechanic side mission. Jump again to avoid Atanwe's conversation. Conversations can't trigger in midair. We're not going to deal with the mechanic side quest. We're just going to talk to Jock and leave right away. And if you played Deus Ex before, you'll know that we've just sealed Jock's fate, unfortunately. And now, off to Vandenberg. Right off the bat, we're going to talk to Super Scientist Survivor, Carla Brown, who's going to give us a keypad that will help us turn on 2 backup power generators around the base. Vandenberg is mainly about when and how to pull specific enemies out of stasis. This trick here is called the Hawk, after the person who suggested the idea. I'm looking over here at that tower to render that guard and pull him out of stasis so he moves along his patrol. Here's the first backup power generator. We're going to look down that way and render that guard down there to start walking. And because we pulled that guard out of stasis, we were able to just run up the ladder, and we didn't have to wait for him to turn around. He was already far along enough in his patrol. We're kind of in a race against the clock here at the beginning of the level because we're trying to get to the lobby and catch a good lobby security camera window. The lobby security cameras are on a global timer, so we want to make sure that we can run in here and slip through without being seen, which we did. Close that door. We're going to take this TNT crate, and we're going to hug these walls here so that the elevator security camera looks straight down at us. And as we pass directly under it, it won't be able to track us when we pass it. It won't be able to turn around fast enough, so it's stuck looking down at the ground. There's the second backup power generator. So because that camera's looking down, we don't have to worry about it seeing us. And speaking of looking down at the ground, we're going to save here and look down because we're going to leave the lobby and go outside. And we don't want to render anything out here. We're going to take this very specific line so we don't pull a security bot to the right of us now out of stasis, and so we don't get into the line of sight of some MJ-12 troops to the left. We're going to run northeast, and we could hear this large bot coming out of stasis. That bot came out of stasis not because we looked at it and rendered it, but because we got close enough to it. We're going to wait until it's in position before we run up here and release our 2 friendly bots that are online because we turned on those backup power generators. And now it's time for Ultra Mechazilla bot battle number 1. I guess this is the first bot battle we've had in this game. Maybe the only? So what I'm doing here is I'm preventing this bot from turning and locking onto the big mega bot over there. So that has to keep moving out before it turns and starts firing. If you don't do that, then it'll turn and aim at that giant bot too soon, and it actually won't fire at it because the friendly bot on the right there will be in the way. So we want to push the bot there on the left out far enough so that it has enough clearance to turn and get a good line of fire. Our 2 friendly bots here, their AI pathing isn't the best. They're a little derpy, and they got a big job ahead of them. In order to progress the level, we have to destroy the 4 bots in this area, the 2 larger bots and the 2 smaller security bots out in front of the base. In addition to the bots, there are also 2 MJ-12 troops and 2 MJ-12 commandos that can muddle things up. So basically, you want to have the bots focusing on one enemy at a time, which is why I'm not going around the corner of this little building here. I only want that one security bot rendered on screen. As soon as you see there the bots go, they're like doing some kind of weird nutcracker dance. These guys are crazy. If you render multiple enemies onto the screen, then that activates all those enemies' AI, and they'll overwhelm the bots. It could be bad. So that's the last security bot they have to destroy, and you'll notice now that the MJ-12 troops are active and they're starting to attack our friendly bots. But that's all 4 bots destroyed, and now the scientists in this command center will open up the door for us, and it'll allow us to progress through the level down into the tunnels. That bot battle is the hardest thing of this whole level. The whole setup of it all is really difficult, and at the end of the day, it's still kind of based on RNG. Now in the tunnels where there are giant spiders, mecha spiders. They're not that giant. They're not as big as the one back in VersaLife, right? Little spider bots. They're in a wandering state. That's all completely RNG, and because this is segmented, I was able to just quick load until I got a good pattern and could just run right down that hallway without them seeing me. We jumped over those lasers back there. Be careful, because if you trip the lasers, 2 more spider bots come up, and the hazard door that we passed through to get to this vent that leads to this room will close in front of you. So it's a pretty tough situation. You don't want to get in there. In that situation, that is. So we just swim through here and grab a nanokey that will unlock a maintenance door just past the hazard door that we passed through earlier. And we'll just swim around here and circle back around through the 2 spider bot hallway that we ran through. Open this door and just be careful, because one of the spider bots could be running around here. But we're in the clear, so we just run around again, jump over the lasers again, very carefully of course, run through the hazard door here, and voila, we unlock the maintenance door. We're going to climb up the ladder here and then come out onto these pipes. We want to stay on this outermost pipe. It's higher than the inner pipes. If you accidentally fall off this pipe and onto the inner pipes, you can brush against the higher outer pipe as it turns the corner there, and you can finagle yourself back up onto the pipe. Quick save here because of this dangerous fellow down here. That spiderbot's name is Chad, and always gives us a hard time, but this is segmented, and we can play with reloading until we get the right RNG we want. We're going to open this door and leave it open for specific reasons. And this time we want this elevator camera to catch us and set off the alarm. We wait, call the elevator, and there is an MJ-12 troop right above us. We want him to come running after us downstairs to investigate. We want him to leave his post. We run into the elevator and catch it before the door closes. And now this door up here is free and clear. There are 2 more MJ-12 troops down there on that couch. They might see you, but we got lucky, I think, this time. I'm not sure. Grab the TNT crate and we run in here. This is Gary Savage. He's a good guy. That's Sam Carter from UNATCO from the beginning of the game. And this room is very dangerous. These electric arcs can really mess you up. No telling where they're going to hit or when. So we used the TNT crate to block the electricity so we could jump on it and get to the switch over there that called the elevator, the little lift. We rode that up, came up here. And as I'm falling off the rail there, or maybe as I jumped onto the rail, I can't quite remember exactly, but basically I set up a jump skip so I could talk to Sam Carter and skip the conversation. Talking to Sam Carter cancels out all of the info links that would have to play before Gary Savage there would walk to that holocom to progress the game. So talking to Sam Carter can shortcut all of that for you. Now everything in Vandenberg is more or less done. We're going to jump over this rail and land right on the door that we left open earlier. JC grunted, but no red flash. I'm not worried about it. Now that security camera saw us when we left the lobby earlier, and it was still active, searching for something to alarm off of when we ran back in there the second time just now, and we set it off. But we got out in time before the turrets could attack us. The turrets in the lobby, that is. And it looks like our two friendly bots took care of the MJ-12 commandos in front of the base, in front of the door there. And the MJ-12 troop back there was running around because he was damaged enough to panic, but he didn't die. That's Tracer Tong. This is Jock. That was Vandenberg. So earlier I said that there were 3 parts in the whole run that kind of worry me as far as difficulty and challenge go, and Vandenberg is the third and final of those. It's a house of cards, man. Just the setups and hoping everything goes right with the bot battle. Here we are at gas station. This level is very short. The objective here is to save Gary Savage's daughter from MJ-12. She's been kidnapped by them. It's a pretty easy level. We don't have to deal with too many enemies. Mainly MJ-12 commandos and Man in Black. Interestingly enough, in this level, the MJ-12 commandos are deaf. They can't hear you. And that's also the case for the MJ-12 commandos in the last level, in Vandenberg. They couldn't hear you either for some reason. But they can still see you. So we're not worried about whether or not the commando can hear us, but we're going to make sure that the Man in Black in there sees us, aggroes onto us, and we just run over here on this hill, over the fence. And they caught us, so they kill Tiffany, which effectively ends the level and gets Jock to spawn here in this little yard by the gas station. Everyone's dying in this run. And now we're off to sub base. We're getting on towards the last parts of the game here. Okay, the sub base. Here at the beginning, we're going to run up to this giant bot, get his attention, say hi, and we're going to run around his leg and into the water here. And you want to make sure that you hug the right side of the ramp along that wall as you go into the water. That way the bot doesn't see you any sooner than it has to when it turns around to attack you. And you might get unlucky and the bot might actually track onto you while you're swimming in the water and might fire some rockets at you. I've been blown out of the water a couple times by bot rockets. It's very fun. Now we're just swimming towards this ladder, and we have a couple of diver enemies in the water with us. They're armed with crossbows. We shouldn't have to worry about them seeing us, but we do have to stay in the water a little bit longer than we want with them because we want to wait for this MJ-12 troop up here to get out of the way so we can sneak up on here. And we're just going to crouch nudge along until we get out of the MJ-12 troops' range of hearing. Then we make a run for it. And this is a little tight up here, this flamethrower troop. This is really close. Close the door behind you. There's another MJ-12 troop in the room with us up here, but he runs around the other side of the elevator shaft when he hears us. We don't have to worry about him. We want to crouch here so this guard doesn't hear us. And we're going to do a bait and switch on him right here. And we're going to do a jump skip and talk to this scientist to get a terminal login. And we're just going to make a break for it, making all the noise and alerting all the guards. This is extremely dangerous, and when I did this while recording, I thought this was going to be okay because I'd never see these troops again, but, well, I was wrong. And you'll see why when we come back to the sub-base later. But here we are at the Ocean Lab. It's completely deserted, and all of the mutagenic monsters have gotten loose, and the security systems are haywire. So all the turrets are killing anything that moves. Have to be really careful. There's a lot of difficult movement in this level, and we can't afford to get shot. And there's going to be one part later on in the level where we have to tank some hits. So until we get there, we just need to be as safe as possible. So luckily the large crate there tanks all the bullets from that turret as we push it forward to grab this nanokey for this door. And right under us and the floor below us at that door is a Greasel that can hear us. And since the Greasel can't find us, it starts seeking around and looking in random directions. It's completely RNG, and there's a possibility that that Greasel will be looking in our direction as we come through this door. There's the Greasel off to the left. We got lucky because it's not looking in our direction, but if it is, this room's a lot of trouble. We're going to tag this data cube, and off to the left there in that room is a Greasel waiting to ambush us. But we just hug the walls, and if we're fast enough, we shouldn't have to worry about it. Now we have to wait here for this Greasel's patrol cycle. And we just swim behind it, making sure that we stay out of its line of sight. Luckily enough for us, it's gonna turn to the left, and we can just swim around it. We're gonna use the keypad here using the code we got from the data cube earlier. And we're out of the water. Be careful of these electrical arcs here. Ideally, you'd want to make a quick save before then. We're gonna tag that data cube to get the security login that will open the door for us as we leave the Ocean Lab later. We're going to grab this nanokey. Don't worry about that giant car key in right there. It's eating something. I think it's a guard or something. I'm not sure what it's eating. I can't remember. That nanokey opens this door. In that room, there are also 2 Greasels that may or may not see you. If they do, I'd recommend reloading your save. We're going to go down the ladder, and this is the part I was talking about where we have to tank some hits. There's a turret at the end of the hallway, so we're going to strafe down to our right. We're not going to face the turret. We're going to strafe down so that way the bullets hit our arm. Our arms are basically free pools of HP, so we want to make sure that they get hit as much as possible, and we're still okay. And we want to hug the right wall there to avoid a gas grenade on the left wall. We just did a mid-air crouch jump through 2 lasers, just like we did earlier in Smuggler's Lair back in Hell's Kitchen, to toggle the spider bot doors open and then shut. Swing wide of this large spider bot, call the elevator, and then you gotta be quick to swim down here and get this data cube. We're taking bioelectric damage, but we're not taking physical damage, so don't worry about all those grunts. If you're quick enough, you'll be able to get here before the elevator crushes you. And now we're just going to have a nice little easy breezy ride on up. And you want to save here because there are turrets on either side of this area up here. Grab the crate, and we're going to activate that panel, throw the crate, and jump over. And we'll use the login and password from the data cube we got in the water earlier. We're going to throw the crate here to set up a crate drop. And all we have to do is just run in here, activate this computer. This has universal constructor schematics. That's the whole point of coming here, and that's why Gary Savage's daughter was kidnapped. Do a crate drop. Home free. So Gary Savage has a universal constructor that Tracer Tong wants to use to reverse engineer a cure for the Grey Death virus. But Gary Savage didn't have the schematics for it. He sent his daughter Tiffany out here to the Ocean Lab to try and get the schematics, but she failed and was kidnapped, and she later died because we failed our rescue attempt earlier in the gas station level. So we're coming here to finish the job. We're coming back up the elevator here. Don't worry about the turret. It's not going to have enough time to swing all the way around and shoot you as you run down the hallway, so just make a break for it. And Walton Simons is here. Almost said Walmart Simons. Walton Simons is here, and this is one of the first places we can fight him. He's off to the right as soon as we come through that door ready to ambush us, but we're just going to run away. We're not going to deal with him, and we really can't. There are ways to kill him under Ultimate Run conditions here, but since this is a speed run, we're just trying to get out as fast as we can. So just swim right through here, and we're basically making a break for it. This is all very sloppy and unsafe and not recommended for single segment stuff, but, well, except for here, this is very dangerous because the turrets in these hallways and in this room are extremely accurate and very deadly. Checking health there, we're still good. And now we're just going to make a break for the exit. First, we have to open the sub-bay doors. We're going to use the login and password that we got from the data cube on that desk earlier in the level. The room with all those electrical arcs. And we're just going to keep on trying to activate the submarine until the door is completely open. Then we can leave the level. And now we're going back to subbase. So normally in a single segment run, when we return here to subbase, I would swim out into the water and swim to the surface outside of all these capsules and all these pods that have all these troops running around inside of them. And I would just swim to where we had to go next. But I found out while recording this that this strategy is actually faster but extremely dangerous. I didn't set anything up for this strategy because I didn't consider it when I was running through here the first time in subbase. So trying to get through all those guards alive when we returned to subbase just now is extremely difficult. It took me like 2 hours to get a good segment. Now we basically need to escape. This hallway is extremely tight as far as the timing goes.
Sergeant, is that you?
Because that troop usually turns around really quickly and catches you. It's really difficult to get the timing on that one. Here's where we talk to Gary Savage. There's Jock. If you did rescue Tiffany, Gary Savage gives you an augmentation upgrade canister there. I believe it's an upgrade canister. But yeah, now we're off to the missile silo, getting closer to the end of the game. Okay, we need to get inside that fence, so we're going to jump around like we just don't care to get the attention of that MJ-12 troop way back there on that platform, on that building. We're going to get his attention. He comes running after us. We'll hide here. And boom! No one in this game believes in doorknobs. Then we're going to make our way over here. And we want to be quick getting out this door. And, geez! Someone think of the doors. We want to get out that door as quick as we can so that the security bot down on the ground doesn't see us. Then we just make a break for it and get down in these vents to get into the missile silo proper. Run down these stairs and we can drop off and safely land on this keypad where we will use the code 8456 that we got at the info link at the beginning of the level. 8456 for all these keypads. It's probably my second favorite code. It's really fun to put in on a 10 key. We're going to save here and get ready for some RNG nonsense and difficulty. At the top of this ladder, there's a spider bot behind those crates waiting to ambush you. Run in here to the bathroom, rudely interrupt that hostage there, and touch his data cube. So this is all RNG because we don't know where all these enemies are going to run around to when they hear the alarm. But we got lucky. The 3 men in black from up here in this area ran down the stairs to look for us, and we were able to block their way on the stairs with that metal crate. So they can't come up here and attack us, even if they see us. And we're just gonna drop down here and take the back way out. And because they saw us on the stairs, they're all gathered over there now, so we have a clear shot out of here. And now this door's open, we can progress to the end of the level. Right here there's an ambush set up down that hallway, so we're gonna drop down this vent into the water and call the elevator up. Our goal now is to stop the guy handling the missile launch operation. We have to kill him before we can leave the level, but with no crates or weapons, how are we gonna do that? Bob Page set the missile to fire at Vandenberg, but we redirected it to Area 51 just now. Now we gotta take care of this guy who's called Howard Strong, but he is not Howard Smart. Just get his attention there. And he blew himself up with his own lamb. So yeah, if you duck away enough when he sees you, he'll throw the lamb and it'll get stuck on the rail in front of him and blow him up. We ride the elevator up and just use the pillar there to block line of sight between you and that man in black at the very top level before you get out of there. There goes the missile launch, and we're off to Area 51. The missile's gonna get there before us, though, as you'll see. Okay, Area 51, the beginning of the end. Here at the start, we're gonna head towards the blown-out warehouse over here. We're going to enter the Area 51 bunker through an air shaft over here. There's an alternate way we can enter through the front doors, but that takes a long time. This is the faster way. Cheat to the left of this beam as you climb up to avoid being seen and heard by the MJ-12 commandos and the man in black down on the ground. So, because we didn't do the mechanic side quest back at Morgan Everett's house in Paris, this is where Jock dies, at the beginning of Area 51. His helicopter just blew up, but he still has one info link left. And if you noticed, Jock's helicopter was exploding for a long time. That's because we hit certain info link triggers that buffered the info links in a certain order, so that the info link that triggers Jock's final explosion doesn't play until quite later on, after the start of the level. What we just did back there with the fan blades was we destroyed them by dropping a crate on top of them. 10 drops with a crate will destroy those fan blades, and we can fall right down into the shaft. Be careful not to rub up against the wall of the shaft, because you can get caught on the geometry, I guess, and just get stuck. You can wiggle off of it, but just be careful if you don't want to break your fall. Here we're going to make our way down to the bottom of the shaft. We take a fall. We take some fall damage, and I'll do a quick health update. From that fall, we lost 2 HP in our torso and 4 HP in both of our legs. Also back in the ocean lab, we took some damage from turrets. We lost 60 HP in our right arm and 20 in our left arm. So our current health total is 16 HP in our torso, 100 in our head, 40 in our right arm, 65 in our left arm, and 95 in both of our legs. Just now we talked to Morgan Everett, and now we're at the part of the game where each of the 3 factions is going to start cluing us into what they want us to do to achieve their respective endings. Morgan Everett represents the Illuminati ending, and he tells us to ignore what Tracer Tong wants us to do, and to kill Bob Page and not destroy Area 51. He gave us a code for these doors here, 8946. We're going to use this data cube here to get a code for a locker, or a bunk rather, back in the barracks, back here. We're being careful not to alert this security bot, because it can hear us. And we're going to use the code 0169 that we got off the data cube earlier in that last room to open that bunk, grab that nanokey. We're going to crouch jump over this thing and wait for the bot to pass. We're going to stay quiet, and we're going to run and grab this crate. We're going to use this crate for cover as we move down this corridor up here. This bit is a little bit tricky. There's going to be an MJ-12 commando moving down the corridor. We're going to throw the crate at the last second quietly to hide behind it. And we want to push the crate forward while hiding behind it, but we also want to be able to be peeking at this MJ-12 trooper right up here, staying on the platform, waiting for him to turn around. So as we run up to this ladder, the MJ-12 trooper who turned around heard us. He ran down, and that MJ-12 trooper right there, he saw us, and I waited on the ladder until we could see the subtitle for his bark at the bottom, letting us know that he was no longer looking for us. So now we know that that we had a good opening to come up to that door and use the nanokey we picked up. We want to save before we hit the switch on this elevator, because this is kind of a bit of randomness right here. There's an MIB and 2 troops on this elevator, and we want to lure them off the elevator and go down. Sometimes they don't come off the elevator though, and you get shot. That's why you want to save. Now on to Sector 3. Here at the beginning of Sector 3, we talk to Tracer Tong, who tells us how to get his ending. Tracer Tong wants us to destroy Area 51, which will destroy all communication in the world and thrust civilization into another Dark Ages, more or less. We're going to jump into this green pool to grab that nanokey for a stairwell door later on, and we tag that data cube because it has the key code for the reactor room, which is where we have to go next. In that green pool, there are 2 greasels swimming around, and they can see you and give you a hard time, so just be aware of that. We get lucky here with that spider-bot's movement. It decided to turn around and run back behind us. We save right there because by the reactors on either side of the room, down there are 2 Greys. Greys are like aliens. They're some of the worst enemies in the game. We're going to talk to this guy. He's going to give us a key code to the Aquinas hub, which is where we're going next. Back to the Greys, they're some of the worst enemies in the game because they're extremely fast, and just by getting close to them, you take radiation damage, which we can't afford at all. So we don't want anything to do with Greys. There's the stairwell key, and up here is the code for the Aquinas hub that we got from the engineer back there, 1038. So we're proceeding further into the complex. At the bottom of this ladder, we're going to go down this hallway and bait that MJ-12 commander with some noise, crouch in the shadows as we run past him. And here's the Aquinas hub, where the Helios AI is waiting for us. Helios represents the 3rd ending we can get in the game. Helios wants to merge with JC and rule the world with AI precision and human empathy. And this is the ending we're going for because it's the only one we can survive. The Illuminati and Tracer Tong endings involve radiation, areas with radiation that we just simply can't survive, so Helios it is. Helios releases 2 security bots in this room, and 3 MJ-12 commandos, and dead ahead on that carriage, an MIB and an MJ-12 trooper with a GEP gun converge upon the room that we just left. So we really need the bots to kill all those enemies, or at least most of them, so we can run back through and go back up to Helios to get the ending. We want that spider bot to be looking that way because we got to come back here. And from that fall just now off the pipe, we lost 4 HP in our torso. Jump across this conversation trigger. 4 HP in our torso, bringing it down to 12, and we lost 5 in both of our legs, bringing our leg HP down to 90 in both left and right. We need to tag that data cube there to get a login and password for a security panel up here. There it is. And we need to turn off the radiation in this room, and we need to sneak by without alerting the 2 Greys that are in here. The Greys are wandering randomly, and we need them to wander away from the door so we can run in and out safely. Again, we're going to have to run back through there. And here is where Bob Page is. We're going to jump across here. There's the Aquinas router room off to the right, just back there. And this is the elevator down into the, I call it the electric room. You'll see why. We took some damage from those turrets, by the way, when we jumped across the gap. We have no right arm, and we lost 20 HP in our left arm and 20 in our left leg. So things are getting dire. We still have full speed in our legs. This room is... Oh my gosh. This is probably one of the worst parts of the run, and like the final hurdle in the run. We got through the room. Our leg health is unchanged. So we're still above 67 in both of our legs. We're still full speed. We lost 60 HP in our head because we got shocked by electricity running out of that room. But holy smokes, I can't tell you how many attempts it took to get through there. Hundreds. I can't exaggerate. Like, that room is completely insane trying to get out in one piece. But this being a segmented run, I was able to just keep trying until I got it. But man, we're pretty much home free now. We're going to engage the primary router, as Helios just said. He's going to give us the password here over the info link. Icarus Panopticon. Panopticon is kind of tricky for me. I slip it up sometimes. My pinkies fail me. We're just going to run back down here. And we're going to come back through the room where the 2 Greys were. And we're just going to be quick with our movement and get on out of here. And just keep running. They shouldn't give you a problem. We're going to go back where we came from with the giant spider bot. Jump over here. And again, the spider bot is wandering around. Its path is RNG completely, so I just got to make sure that we get the optimal movement from it, i.e. it's not looking at us or seeing us. We run up here, bait the guard with sound, and sneak right by him. There are 2 grays down there, but we don't have to worry about them. They don't see us. And there's no MJ-12 commando in this hallway, and the MJ-12 commandos that ran into the room after we left Aquinas hub the first time are all dead. The little security bots killed them, so everything is open for us, and we're just going to go up to Helios and to the end of the game. The end of a journey.
I've done what you asked. Now what?
We have existed in isolation, pure, disconnected, alone, stagnant.
Who are you?
We are dataless. We are Icarus. The barriers between us have fallen, and we have become our own shadows. We can be more if we join with you.
And if I do? What becomes of me?
You will be who you will be. We are our choices. We can choose to lead humanity away from this darkness.
What I was made for, isn't it? This is why I exist. All right, let's do this.
What's happening? Helios! Icarus! Don't leave me!
We have grown, but there's still much to be done. Many of the darkness that must be shown the way. For it's the coming of a new day.
And there you have it. Deus Ex Ultimate Run, the segmented version. Because the run is segmented means I could go back and retry things over and over and over again. And that might not have been such a good thing because it ended up taking me a really long time. I think I got caught up in like perfectionism and paralysis by analysis and all that stuff. So I think in the future I'm going to try and get better at that, not trying to obsess so much over tiny little details in the run. Hopefully I can loosen up and that'll help my productivity as far as other runs I want to get out. As far as Deus Ex runs I'd like to do in the future or make revised videos of is the Deus Ex Ultimate Run single segment version. A single segment just means we go from the beginning to the end of the game in a one shot under Ultimate Run rules, and a lot of these strategies are different than what you've seen here in the segmented version. I won't go into too much detail, but I think for me, single segment Ultimate Run is probably definitely more fun than trying to do it segmented. I don't think I'd ever want to do this again. This is just really tough and time consuming, especially mentally too. Just obsessing over tiny little things, but yeah, I think single segment is definitely going to be more enjoyable to try and get a nice time on. My current time for that one is 2 hours 24 minutes, so I think my next goal for that might be to try and get it down to 2 hours and 20 minutes below that, maybe even 2 hours 15 minutes. So I'll be tackling that in the future, hopefully at some time. Another category I enjoy running is no items. Running through this game on no items is kind of like Ultimate Run Light. You can use passcodes without finding them in-game first. You can heal. You can pretty much bypass a lot of the annoying parts of the run. So once you get Ultimate Run down, doing no items run is a breeze. It's kind of relaxing. Also, there's the PS2 version of Deus Ex. I probably won't do a run for that until much later in the future when I get proper PlayStation 2 capturing equipment, but I like to do something that's kind of like an Ultimate Run on that one. The PS2 version, that is. Because of the nature of the game and the changes and differences between it and the PC version, you can't quite finish the game with the exact same Ultimate Run rules as the PC version, but you can get something kind of close to that. So those are all things I hope to accomplish in the future, get videos out for that. As far as Ultimate Run, some of my favorite parts include the Cathedral level, Chateau Duclair, Morgan Everett's house. Those are all just really nice, chill, relaxing places in the run. Some of my least favorite parts of the run include the PRCS Wall Cloud level. That's the super freighter where you have to destroy the 5 weld points. And the whole naval shipyard bit before that. If I could remove one level from the game, it would probably be that one. I just don't really enjoy it much. And also, I don't really care much for the last parts of the game, actually. Pretty much everything after Paris, from Vandenberg on. The environments just seem, I don't know, cold and lonely and barren. There aren't many fun NPCs hanging around to liven things up. And the mood of the music seems to change too. It's like more ambient and stuff, and there aren't so many memorable melodies, not like in the first part of the game. So that's kind of a shame. But yeah. Let's see, other games in the Deus Ex franchise that I'd like to make runs for. Let's see. My favorite Deus Ex game, apart from the first one in the franchise, might be Human Revolution. I really like that one. However, Invisible War comes up as a close second to that. A lot of people like to talk bad about Invisible War and, say this or that about it, which is all completely valid. It's just a shame it had to follow the first game, but one thing that no one really gives credit to Invisible War for is that it has penguins. The penguins are really awesome in Invisible War, and I don't think any other Deus Ex game has penguins. Granted, I haven't beaten Mankind Divided, and I haven't played the blockbuster classic, The Fall, but or wasn't there like a smartphone game or something that came out? But so I haven't played or finished all of the Deus Ex games, but I'd be willing to bet that Invisible War is the only one that had penguins, and I think that's a very important thing to note when people discuss that game. And that's just my personal opinion. There's other games that are like Deus Ex in the sense that you can, stealth your way through things. You can take multiple routes and multiple actions to solve the problems that the various levels face. I guess these are immersive sims, might be the word for it, but probably my favorite Deus Ex-like game. I actually can't think of too many off the top of my head. I know there's tons out there. I just haven't played that many games. But I do like Dishonored. I played the first Dishonored game. In fact, I think one of the lead programmers or designers on Deus Ex was not in charge, but he was high up on the team behind Dishonored too, so there's kind of like a lineage there. Dishonored was fun. I think the thing I like about immersive sims is that it allows you to act like yourself in a game. For example, like, I wouldn't want to go through life hurting people or killing people, so it's nice that I can also act like that and try and live that out in a video game setting as well. So I think that's one nice thing about Deus Ex and immersive sims in general. But yeah, here we are at the end of the run. Thank you so much for watching. I'd like to thank the Deus Ex speedrun community, in particular Yelmery and Hawk, who are both always very supportive, always willing to answer questions. Hawk in particular, his deep knowledge of the game was responsible for a lot of the strat optimizations that you saw in this run. And finally, I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed the run, and I hope you found the commentary insightful. Take care, and goodbye.